I'm so glad to be here in this wonderful event, and thank you, Paula, for inviting me. There was a lot of talk of like age and 30 years ago in history, and my poem is inspired by history, but a little bit. It was actually written last summer while I was saying the leaving cert, and I started to think about stories and how powerful stories are, and how they are a special kind of history themselves, because stories, they dictate how we treat people sometimes in the way that they portray certain individuals in society. And it's known that history is always favorable to the people that write it. So I kind of wrote this story in 4 parts to show that stories can do a lot because they tell the world how people should be treated and how much people are worth. And sometimes that could be favorable and sometimes that could be quite damaging. So this is called Women and Other Flowers. The story begins with word, this body and its dark petals. What does it mean to love your neighbor as you love yourself? When your beauty is stolen from your skin and your hair and the name your mother gave you when she took you from the wet hands of the midwife, pale as you were, your eyes were still darker than the color of sun-baked mud after the rainy season. And she knitted her Africa into your name, tighter than the way God knitted it into your jungle hair and safari skin. And now, you cannot look yourself in the eye. You write yourself love notes in Morse code. Each indent is a question. Why faces with skin the color of burnt caramel never grace the crystal ball? Why love is a word said only with your back to the mirror? And why there is so much sting in the silent bleed at the end of each question? 2, what does it mean to love your neighbor as you love yourself? When images of tendrils and test tubes are thrown into your living room and they tell you, each cell must be stripped from its host for security purposes, there is much talk of contamination, but then you read somewhere else, somewhere, a much smaller, more transparent screen that it was babies, not tendrils on your flat screen, in incubators, and those bits of charred green flesh on glass-covered floors are bodies, or babies, or bloodied. Overexposed flesh peeling in eastern heat, not strong enough for the outside world, not strong enough for the once crisp hospital air, not strong enough for even their mother's touch, but it's been weeks and all. There is only rot and dust now. Tendrils or not, it is as good a reason to break from the ritual. Midnight media rounds, the daily staring contest with the mobile abyss, and mourn as best you can. They were no family of yours. So you will mourn not the loss of shared memories, but the injustice, with no thought of politics or other man-made things, simply that they were not given the chance to grow into an ally or enemy, nipped at the tender bud of terror. They will never be old enough to feel like victims or victors, to feel ostracized or socially submerged, to feel like they can be both Arab and Muslim without being a threat to Western society, to feel the warmth of flesh, not metal thorns, to feel without pain. 3, what does it mean to love your neighbor as you love yourself? If every sunrise doesn't come singing, you can get out of bed today, because maybe you shouldn't, since each morning is a constant visceral assault of mortality, and you blend into the night, and lullabies ring out like elegies or sirens, because maybe you won't make it through the night or past that checkpoint if you're caught out howling your fear and pride at the moon. And there is death and danger in the face of everything that moves at you and breathes deep and heavy, so that there is no air left for your heaving lungs. 4, what does it mean to love your neighbor as you love yourself? Is it a slow blossoming like a delayed blessing? Or is it to become an injury, a hurt, like the gaping ground of an expanding fault line? Settle into devastation, christen your soul victim, or try to be whole again. Thank you.